There everyone, it's RWTema here. I'm just here to do a quick video on transport ducts. Yes, these newfangled ducts that are coming to thermal dynamics. If you haven't seen the previous two videos, then go watch the previous two videos. But here's what they do. They go wee, whoosh. Yeah, they've got a new sound effect now, so yeah, it's all very work in progress. You know, the bounding boxes aren't quite right, the sound isn't quite right, and obviously you won't be right-clicking with a minecart to do that. That's just test code we put in there. Yeah, so probably the biggest question I've gotten is what happens when you hit an intersection? Does it go randomly? Do you stop? Do you die? Do you explode? Is your hard drive formatted? Uh, no. And if any of those things happen, it's purely coincidence and we hold no liability or responsibility. Now, what does happen is routing. Yes. So it uses the same code as item ducts. So if you give it an entrance here and an exit, it will find its way through. And it will always take the fastest option available and get to its destination. Yeah, and it works very efficiently, very nice. It's based on the item duct code, so it's nice and optimized. So yeah, however, there is a slight problem with these, and if you've worked with large item duct networks, you might have guessed what this is. But the problem is that everything has to be chunk loaded. You know, the entrance has to be chunk loaded, the exit, and all the people there. Otherwise, it forgets part of the routing, as it were. It doesn't know what's there. And obviously, yeah, I suppose you could keep a manual track, but then whenever the server restarts, you have to reload it all, and it's a bit of a pain. So what happens when you've got a friend's base who's 10,000 blocks in that direction? Do you have to chunk load all the blocks from here to there? And the answer is no, you don't. We've thought of this, and if I just quickly set it to daytime again, I will show you what we have thought of, and that is this is the long-range ducts. Ducts. If you say it too many times, you start saying ducks. It's inevitable. But yes, these are ducts. And these, yeah, so these are the long-range ducts. Their chief property is that they're twice as fast. However, if you place one here, you can't have intersections at all. So yeah, you're not allowed to do that. It'll block you off if you try to make an intersection. So it has to be one long pipe, and it can only have one end there and another end there. So yeah, that works all very nicely, but what do you do with that? Well, here's what you do. You place what these are called acceleration ducts. You place these on either end. And once you've done that, you right click, it searches on side south, and it finds its counterpart, which is here. So now this acceleration duct is linked to that one. So basically the purpose of these two is to link to each other. So now it knows that if it sends somebody to the north, they will eventually end up here, and vice versa. It knows it can end up here. Just a small thing, you don't actually have to separately right click on these. You can just right click one of them, and it'll automatically tell the other one that it's there. So what does this mean? Well, it means that you can have these two things here chunk loaded, and these two things here chunk loaded, and that's all well and dandy. But the middle here, this does not require to be chunk loaded. It knows that there is a stable loop, a stable, path in that direction. So if it sends the player that way, it knows that eventually you'll end up here. Now, if you're feeling slightly evil on a multiplayer server, you might, might make a change here and make it so that it goes off this way into lava or something. Because if you fall out of a transport, if you reach a dead end, it just drops you. It's not going to, if it reaches a dead end with the intelligent routing ones, it'll send you back, and it'll only drop you if it cannot find an exit. But with these, yeah, you can do some pretty evil things. So you might want to just right-click to make sure everything's fine before taking a long distance. But yeah, so these work pretty well. Yeah, we've been working on, speaking of, destinations and so on, we've been working on that. Currently it's all very simple, test code, it'll just go to the nearest destination, and that's there, and vice versa, sends you back. And if you want, you can left shift to dismount, as you can read at the bottom there. You're basically riding the equivalent of an invisible minecart. But we're going to have a much more intelligent system, so you can have proper exits and entrances. So you can have proper destinations, and you can have a friends list and so on. And that should be fun stuff to program. But that's all work in progress. Anyway, back to the long range ones. Now you might be thinking to yourself, okay, so these long range ducts, these go twice the speed, and they're nowhere near as expensive, which I didn't actually tell you, but they are much cheaper, because you're going to be making so many of them. But yeah, so they're cheaper and they're faster. So what's to stop me, just using these and just having these things as the base? What's to stop? Well, technically nothing, but it's a bit boring. So I've added a balance mechanic, and that is that these acceleration ducts, they don't require power, but they require time. And in fact, they require 6 seconds to accelerate you to twice the speed, to give you the energy required to speed away along here to the exit here. But oh yes, this is another question I've got. We're not planning to add a power requirement at the moment. We might add it optionally as like a config option, but for the moment this is probably all it's going to be. So yeah, these will stop you for 6 seconds and accelerate. Use magical Ethereum energy to accelerate you, or something like that. So yeah, you can see in the bottom left it's charging for 6 seconds, and there you get to the exit. And if you're worried about chat spam, well, don't worry about chat spam, because it uses the same code I use for extra utilities to clear the older data out when it prints that. That's all good. So yeah, here's a quick structure. If you look at the little white blocks going past, you can sort of tell the distance, as it were. So here you're accelerating for 6 seconds, and then zoom, you go much faster. So the practical sort of the way this works is that if your line here of long-range transport ducts, a lot of words here, if that is less than about, I think it's 60 blocks, then it's not worth using an acceleration duct in the long range, because overusing just the regular ones, because you're just going to spend more time in here than you'll save with the extra speed of these long range ones. However, if your long range distance the distance is more than 60 blocks, then it is worth using these, and it will be more efficient. So yeah, just a bit of a balancing there, just to make sure. I mean, these regular ducts, they may be intelligent, but they're very efficient. There's really no reason not to use these all the time. We're just including the long range distance ducts, for the purposes of long range, and so you don't have to chunk load stuff. And yeah, I'm quite proud of how these have come out. There's still quite a bit of work to go, and there's non-ending bugs and so on. A lot of corner cases involved. It's a pain in the neck, but it's coming along quite nicely. I'm quite happy with it, and hopefully it'll be out soon, or at least available for testing soon. So I hope you're having a nice Sunday. I'll see you when I see you, or whatever. Cheers.